We're going to reflect on SD 49.21, the Tika Moneya Sutta. The original title of the sutta is simply Moneya Sutta, but there's quite a number of sutta with this very same name. So here we give a prefix to it, Tika. Tika comes from the Book of Threes of the Anguttara Nikaya, where this sutta is located, Tika Moneya Sutta. The Threes discourse on sagehood. Moneya is the abstract noun for Muni. Muni is the personal noun, that is the silent sage. Moneya is silent sagehood. It's not always easy or proper to translate one Pali word for one English word. It's not complete usually. The Pali phrases are often very rich, very pregnant, as we sometimes say. In other words, a single word can have quite a number of meanings, all of which apply at the same time. So Muni is not only a sage. His sagehood is rooted in spiritual silence, and this is a very important idea behind this understanding of early Buddhist sagehood. So it would be proper to translate Muni as the silent sage, if you like. So today we're going to look at what it means, what Moneya means. And this sutta comes from A3.120. According to the Pali Text Society listing, it is in the Anguttara Nikaya Book of Threes, Sutta number 120. So we're going to look at the nature of spiritual silence. Early Buddhism teaches awakening, and this awakening, as experienced by our Buddha Gautama, is the inner stilling, calming of the mind. And this, of course, also entails the stilling, the calming of the three karmic doors, the totality of our being. The three karmic doors are our body, speech, and mind. The mind is at peace, no defilements, no troubled thoughts, no troubling thoughts. The speech is peaceful, no quarreling with anyone. And the actions, the Buddha's actions, the action of the Muni is also peaceful. So today we're going to look in some detail on the meaning of this, the idea of the Muni. This is a very short sutta, but a very definitive, very important sutta defining to us the nature of sagehood, of Moneya. The translation is on page 156. You notice there are like 10 pages with notes here, lots of things you can read about. And this is just a kind of introduction to give us a canonical explanation of the nature of the silent sage. The Threes discourse on sagehood, A3.120. Here the Buddha straight away goes into the sutta, into the teaching. The Buddha says, Bhikshus, there are these three kinds of sagehood. What are the three? So here we see, in other words, sagehood is defined in three ways. Section 2, bodily sagehood, verbal sagehood, mental sagehood. If we like, we can also translate the Pali here as sagehood of the body, sagehood of speech, and sagehood of the mind. And then the Buddha goes on to explain each of them in some detail. Section 3, and what bhikshus is bodily sagehood, or sagehood of the body. Here the Pali term is Kaya Moneya. Right, so here basically it is right action where the body is concerned. Here, bhikshus, a monk, is one who abstains from harming life. He is one who abstains from taking the not given. He is one who abstains from incelibacy. This bhikshus is called bodily sagehood. So we see here the sage, the Muni, is a renunciant, a monk. So it's a kind of a very high level kind of saint. His body, his physical actions are totally pure. He doesn't harm any life. He doesn't take what is not given, down to the value of more or less 5 cents. And where the third precept is concerned, he totally abstains from any kind of sexual act. So this is the purity of the body in the case of renunciant, in the case of the monk. So of course the question will be asked, what about lay people? So here, of course, in the case of a lay practitioner, we wouldn't use the word sage, except in the normal philosophical sense. Here, the sage refers very simply, let me just say it at this point, he is the Arhat. We'll come back to this point in the conclusion of this sutta too. So, why is celibacy specifically mentioned here? It's because to attain that high level of awakening, Arhathood, you need jhana. And to attain jhana, you have to overcome all the 5 senses, the body in other words. The meditation that brings us to Arhathood, Buddhahood, is through the jhanas. In other words, totally transcending of the body, speech, and of course the mind, the 5 senses. Because the 5 senses limit us to this world. Seeing limits us to the physical, the form aspects of life, if you like. Then sound or hearing limits us to the vibrational aspects of life, sound, and the smell to the experience of the nose, and taste, experience of the tongue, and of course touch, to the experience of the body. So in other words, these 5 senses are very physical. They limit us to this world. And because of this limitation, we are not able to completely experience the calmness, the peace, the clarity and the joy of the mind. So, of course, even at this level, we can still take our first step on the Eightfold Path by becoming stream witness, by reflecting the nature of impermanence of all these senses of the world, in other words. When we constantly reflect, understand and accept this true reality of impermanence, we are very much less attached to the world. And if we can do that, then our chances of walking along the path has begun. We are on the way, in other words. At the most, 7 more lives to go. And of course, when we say 7 lives, which is a symbolic number, one single life can be very long, can be a few world cycles even. So even as a layperson, although we may not become sages, we may not become a Muni, we can still start walking on the path to awakening. We can be sure of that path. In other words, we will not be reborn in any subhuman state, suffering states. We will kind of take our time, progress on the path to awakening towards Buddhahood, if you like. So, on the other hand, if we are able to calm ourselves and we're able to rise beyond the body, when we attain jhanas, we will find that this bliss of jhana is well beyond physical bliss, and we will not enjoy the bliss of the body anymore. It's like we are so used to human food, and we wouldn't eat the kind of food that animals take. In other words, it's like the famous story of Brahma Deva, where you have this Brahma worshipper, this lady, the mother of Brahma Deva, who regularly makes offerings to the great Brahma. And the story goes that Mahabrahma himself one day comes down to this very pious devotee to teach her a lesson. So this Mahabrahma tells the woman, says, you should not make all these worldly offerings, because Brahmas do not partake of worldly food. I mean, Devas do not take the kind of food we take. It's very gross to them. They live on joy, so they don't need worldly food. On the other hand, Brahma tells this lady, he says, you have a son by the name of Brahma Deva, and he's an Arahat. And if you have to offer this food to him, he's a human being, I mean, the merits would be so great. You should do that. So here we see an example of where Mahabrahma, this very high god in the former, is of a different structure, if you like, different physical composition as humans. He belongs to the deep jhanic world, if you like. So to attain that high level of awakening, to attain arahathood, we need to free ourselves from the body through the jhanas. And that entails celibacy, in other words. That is, so this particular quality is mentioned as this Muni, this sage, abstains from incelibacy. Then the next point, section 4, point number 2. And what bhikshus is verbal sexual, or sexual of speech, vachi muneya. Here, of course, it is right speech. It is elaborated here as, here where Buddha says, here bhikshus, a monk is one who abstains from false speech, is one who abstains from malicious speech. Malicious speech meaning breaking up relationships, friendships, and so on. And then next is one who abstains from harsh speech. Is one who abstains from frivolous talk. These are the 4 kinds of right speech, and this is kind of standard. This is the basic factor in the Eightfold Path. These bhikshus is called verbal sexuality. Now we come to the third aspect, and this is what makes the Muni unique. Section 5, the third kind of sexuality. And this should be AMD. And what bhikshu is mental sexual of the mind, or mano vaneya. And this is where the Buddha defines it as the total freedom, spiritual freedom, that is arahathood itself. So here the Buddha says, here bhikshus among having destroyed the mental influxes, having realized for himself by direct knowledge, here and now, attains and dwells in the mental liberation, and liberation by wisdom that is influx free. This is the typical stop message, the pericope of arahathood. These bhikshus is called mental sexual. So here we see this, the arahat is defined as someone who's destroyed all the mental influxes, asavas. Asavas mean that which flows. It also can mean something that is fermented, something that causes us to be drunk. But the idea is asavati, it flows. So in other words, the sense experiences, sense data flow through our 5 physical senses, and it is kind of processed and then kind of by the mind, and the mind also conjures up its own images, its own sensations, if you like. So this kind of influxes are gone, are no more there for the arahat. Traditionally, we talk of the influxes of three kinds in the early text. That is, sense desire is gone, no more influx of sense desire. Whatever the Arahat sees, hears, smells, tastes and touches on things, he has no inclination for desire the way we do. And this influx of existence is gone. He has no more desire to be born in any of those, even the higher worlds, the form world, formless world. And there is the influx of ignorance is also uprooted. In other words, he understands the nature of life completely in a way, by way of the Four Noble Truths. So later on, the three became four. So this including views. So he has no views too. Whatever he sees is like a mirror, just reflecting. So that's the Arahat. Now, I won't go into the other points that give merely technical details, except you can say that in the case of the Arahat, he experiences direct knowledge. He realizes true reality by himself, for himself. So we can see here then the early conception of the sage is that he's totally purified of body, speech and mind, and he's the Arahat. So it's not a kind of general term which anyone can use. Right? So in section 6, Buddha says at the conclusion of the prose section of the sutta, these bhikshus are the three kinds of sagehood. Not sages, but sagehood. Three aspects of sagehood, if you like. So this is where, out of respect for the Dharma, we will never use this word muni for ourselves. So this is where you find some of the later gurus, the modern gurus, they use this kind of term. Even words like Bhagava. Bhagava is a very sacred term used for the Buddha and the higher beings. So we wouldn't use such words for ourselves, but this refers to enlightened beings. So if we use such term, we are claiming to be enlightened, and there can be a lot of problems, as is quite well known among the gurus of India. So the Muni is a silent sage in a sense. He has nothing to say. He has nothing more to know. He's happy. His work is totally done. It's just like we have done our work and finished working. We have savings and we are retired. There's nothing more to do. Just to be happy, basically. Of course, in the ordinary world, this can be quite difficult. People must do something. We have nothing to do. You begin to have a kind of sense of silent panic even. But in the case of the Arahat, in the case of the Buddha, they are just happy. They're in a deep sense of joy. It's like watching the sunset. Of course, in the case of the Buddhas and the Arahats, the Munis, in other words, they're there in the world for our benefit. They remain behind for our benefit. And that's the reason why we feed them. In other words, we want to keep the body going. The body is like a sound system, if you like some kind of device. We can hear from them the teachings, what they have discovered, what they have become, enlightened beings, awakened beings. So with our offering of food and support to them, they are able to teach and speak to us. They continue to live on, in other words. Otherwise they'll just pass away quite naturally with the ending of their life faculty. So they live on to teach us what made them Muni and what made them Buddha and Arahat, so that we can follow them, very same path, according to our ability, stage by stage, until we can attain that Moneya or the stage of the silent stage ourselves when the time comes. So now the sutta finishes with a summary. Section 7, Kaya muning, Wachi muning, Cheto muning, Anasavan, muning muneya sampannam, Ahu sabba bahayinam ti. the sage of the body, the sage of speech, the sage of the mind that is influx-free, the sage who is accomplished in sagehood, he is said to have let go of the all. Here the all refers to our senses, especially the six senses altogether. Ahu sabba paha inam. So here the all, other translators often translate as he has let go of everything, which is not exactly wrong, but I have used the word the all because sabba is a very well-known term in early Buddhism, and sabba means all. The all includes all the senses. If you say everything, it seems to include the physical world too, in other words. So here, in a sense, when you say the all, it includes what the senses make of the physical world too. But the all, if you look at the Sabba Sutta, for example, refers to our senses, the consciousness, and so on. So another interesting point here is, instead of mano muning, the word ceto muning is used. Right? So here ceto has the same sense as mano. Here ceto is kind of adjective, meaning mind, whereas mano is a noun, but it serves as an adjective. So here ceto is an adjective too. Ceto muning, mano muning, they refer to the same thing. So there you are. This is a short reflection, very simple, very direct. Nothing philosophical here, telling us that the sage of early Buddhism is someone who has totally purified body, speech, and mind. So do reflect on this sutta, even though we may not attain sagehood, lay people may not attain sagehood in this life itself, but we can be guided by this wonderful idea of which the Buddha himself is the best example. So now let us close with a short reflection. The Buddha is here to guide us, where to direct our body and mind so that we are happy even here and now. And as we guide ourselves, we're also preparing for this higher life as we are able to, step by step. Even in this life itself, we can live happily with our families, our friends and others, and benefiting others wherever we go. So this is the kind of alternative life which the Buddha provides us, so that we can be happy and also bring happiness to others. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. But above this karma, many other good deeds we have done, and by the virtue of the three jewels, may we cultivate loving kindness for our own well-being and happiness, so that we can practice the Buddha's teaching to its final fruiting in this life itself. May we also send out our loving kindness to all our loved ones and those who have been kind and supportive of us. May they be well, may they be happy. And to those who are practicing the Dharma, may they be empowered with good health and wisdom to attain spiritual liberation in this life itself. And finally, by the power of the three jewels, may all those who are having difficulties in finding the truth, who have not touched the Dharma have not touched, may they see the Dharma in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.